PGA Nation, we are back, and we are back with a big week. The Players' Championship. They're not technically allowing us to call it a major, but it's a major for all intents and purposes. I am pumped. I have not been more dialed in on my player pool on Tuesday night before the tournament starts than I've been going into tonight. We're going to have a great show ahead of you tonight. But before we even get into that, we had a guest coming on the draft with us tonight, and they bailed last second. And so we were going to have a three-man, but not all heroes wear capes. And a trusted guest of ours who's been on before has stepped up at literally the last minute to come on and draft the fourth team with us tonight for the Players. You have 5 seconds to guess who it is. Get in the chat, guess who you think's coming on before Spence brings him on. Spence, before you bring him on, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well as we wait to bring this guest on. And this is one of my favorite people in the space. Anytime I can get him on a show or I can do his, I'm always excited. I'll let you talk a little bit about your week, Joel, last tournament. I know you had quite the score yourself.
I did. I had a big week. I'm going to carry that hot momentum into the Players' Championship. But I had a big week. So on Saturday, so the round 3 showdown, I tied with one other guy, the biggest GPP for 50K. So when you split it, it's first and second place combined. So first was 50, second was 20. So we split 35K each. I also won a winner-take-all ticket into the big GPP for this week. So I'll be able to get a $4,000 ticket into the 600-man GPP. So I'm pretty pumped for this week because I got a lot of action kind of going into it. But it's funny how I won it. So I'll tell a quick story. And if you want to bring in our special guest while I tell the story, you can bring him on. We don't need to leave him in the back. Everyone knows who he is. If you watch our show, you already know who he is. So welcome on, bringing up
Boys. What's going on? No, just sitting here on my own with Joel just saying that he just won like 35K. Just really randomly. Joel, good stuff, brother. That's
Thank you,
awesome, man.
Thank you. I love the haircut. Haircut looks great.
Yeah, you guys caught me in the middle of a shave, so this is what you get.
It looks great. I love it. And I'll tell the quick story. So I only played 2 lineups on Saturday. And when I did it, I put one in for that. I wanted to go for that 70. It was like a $70. I think, I don't remember how many people, maybe 100 people, winner take all for the ticket. I made a lineup for it. And then I was like, I was torn between Thorbjornsen and Norden. And I was like, let me just put this lineup and one other lineup in the big GPP with the one with Norden and the one with Thorbjornsen. So I have exposure to both. If this lineup hits, great. And that was it. So it also happens to be my high school was playing, and my high school was not a good basketball school, but we're playing for the state championship that day. So I really wasn't paying attention. I was watching my high school play in the state championship, and I get to dinner after the game, and I look at the app, and it says you're in first place. And I'm like, there's still like 9-10 holes to go. So it's not over. But I'm like, oh, things are very interesting here. I'm very much so alive. So now I'm following it. But really, like early in that point in the round, I was winning the ticket because the lineup was so good. I'm sorry, the other way around. I was winning the 35K. The ticket, I wasn't in first yet because that lineup wasn't as good as the other one. So I'm kind of just waiting. And then my lineup was the best line. Obviously, I won all the money. So it just got hot. Everything was breaking my way. It gets to the end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually in first and could win this. And of course, the delay happens, and they don't finish the round. So then there's like 3 guys that have to finish the next day. And it turns out if either Ludwig or maybe Akshay, I forget who the second person was, but I was at risk that if either one of them birdied going into the finish the round, I would have lost. So now I'm sweating all night like, oh God, please don't birdie. Please don't birdie. Please don't birdie. And I can't even watch it anywhere because they don't have it televised. So I'm on the PGA Tour app just watching it. Like, just don't birdie. Just don't birdie. Luckily they didn't. It was all pars, and I was able to take it down. So it was a big week.
And you did that without a Sepp Straka in your lineup, or did you have Sepp?
I mean, pull up the line. I'm pretty sure Sepp was in it though.
Yeah, because he was the main.
Why did you assume he wasn't?
I mean, it would have been hard without him because I think he was the highest scoring showdown guy for round 3. So, and then was one of the worst on. Yeah, he was cheap.
Yeah, I got this message, and we'll get it reposted. It's on the Rotoballer page right now. I got this message from Joel, and he's not exaggerating. He had 2 lineups on the day. It's very impressive stuff.
Yeah.
2 lineups and 35K and a ticket. Like, that is such a flex. Draft Master flex, baby. Flex,
well,
baby.
the funny part is I'm not like I'm happy to play 150 lineups. Like I'll max out. And usually I'll play 150 lineups and I will be glued to the screen all day, following all my golfers. And it was like a rare week where I was like, I'm just playing 2 lineups and I wasn't watching it. And I just tuned in at the end. I'm like, oh, I'm in first place with 2 lineups and winning. So yeah, it was definitely a good Saturday for me.
Let's go.
All right. So let me carry that momentum into the players this week. We're going to get another win. When we're hot, we got to stay hot. So for the Players Championship, I think, in my own personal opinion, I think there's a player pool that I like that can be way more narrow than most weeks. Like, there's some guys that, like, for me, for this tournament, I'm easily just taking out my pool. I don't want to play them. I'm not interested in them for this week. There's really a smaller pool of guys, certain things I'm looking for that I'm really attracted to that I really want to play. So I wonder, Spence, I know you got your work cut out for you this week with the course breakdown and what you're looking for at Sawgrass, but I wonder if you guys are seeing it similar. Do you have a tighter player pool kind of as you're building your lineups this week? Or have you guys taken a different approach?
You can go first, Byron.
I don't know yet. I haven't really made up my mind, Joel, because, I've still got I think I need to know what's going on with the weather a little more before I really start drilling into some guys, because this place becomes exponentially harder the more the wind blows, and trying to find a gap of a couple hours where guys won't be just getting unfair conditions to score could be key, especially, we've seen how those waves go. Granted, I'd also probably it might be a larger pool than normal, Joel, to actually answer your question, because I'm probably going to play both waves.
Okay.
Just so because it's so unpredictable also, like, why not just put half down the middle kind of thing?
But you strategically will basically have wave strategy lineups where you're basically going to stack guys on different waves and just one of those hits and you'll be set that way.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but haven't made up my mind. Maybe you convince me otherwise.
All right. Well, the one thing I will say, and again, before you enter everything on Thursday, you should definitely check the weather updates Wednesday night, because they get the most up to date, because the weather came out at the beginning of the week and it looked like there was going to be a big advantage. And then the weather update as of yesterday to this morning was less of an advantage, almost neutral. So that could go back to maybe the wind's going to be there, or it could just stay neutral. So if it's what I saw earlier today, it's pretty like there's not much of an advantage. So anyway, everyone's in play. But as of Monday, and it was a big win advantage. So you got to stay on it. You can't just make your decisions today and not look at it again, because you can miss something big by doing so.
Yeah.
Spence, all right, what are you doing?
Tell us what you saw when you were breaking down TPC Sawgrass.
Yeah, very quickly to answer the question, I have not locked in a player pool yet. There's also there's like a further answer to this that I would also like to see. I understand that there's a lot of injuries and there's a lot of concerns around the Jake Knapps, the Rory McIlroys, the Austin Smothermans. I would like, and I know golf does not do this as a whole. This is why Thursday starts, and all of a sudden after lineup lock is in, players are all of a sudden out of the tournament that you didn't even expect to be the case with it. But I would like to see if there's any answers that can be given about them, because if all of a sudden we have a 6% owned Rory McIlroy because nobody wants to play him, and this is not like a stance that I'm taking, Rory, like I would rather go in other routes this week, but at the end of the day, it does matter, and ownership plays such a big part for this. And for me, Jake Knapp is a golfer that I really wanted to have exposure to for this tournament. And now that it's not a sickness, and it's a sickness plus a back, it's a little bit more finicky from what I was hoping to see. So it's one of those things that I'm kind of just taking it by minute. As Byron talked about, I'm trying to figure out what the weather is going to look like. This is a tournament that can be ravaged by weather very fast. I remember a couple of years ago, I had Justin Thomas, where he caught the wrong end of the wave and he was still near contention. And then funny enough, he got himself back on track on the right part, like on the final day or two, and then imploded himself off the course after playing some of the best golf I've ever seen for 3 rounds. So weather is a big indicator here. There's tons of water. There's tons of bunkers. There's going to be really thick roughs. So weather at the end of the day is kind of going to be the thing that you're going to be looking for. But just as far as the course is concerned, and I'll keep it very, very short. If you look at this tournament in a nutshell, this used to be played in May. And when it was played in May, it was a much more fiery test to where golfers had a really tough time stopping their balls on these greens. It's a lot different during the last couple iterations over the last 6-7 years. You get this overseeded Bermuda. It creates softer landing areas, more shot shaping and control with your irons. You're still going to have that thick rough that I just talked about and the weather that can, at any single point, really play and create some havoc for the field. But it's a Pete Dye tournament, forced layups. It's kind of all the things that you expect out of this. And at the end of the day, while you may not have as much of that volatility as we've seen, like if you look at course history, which is one of the reasons why I don't have a ton of it in my model, you get a victory, you get a miscut, you get a top 10, you get a miscut. It's kind of just how everybody does this. But there has been a little bit more predictability over the last handful of years. It doesn't mean that you still don't have the ebbs and the flows of the results. But, find me a golfer that can be creative, salvage par, avoid some of those critical mistakes. I think iron plays a big one, find fairways. You do all of that, you start working yourself up with a real chance to actually win this tournament. And then just to answer BB's question here about Jason Day, that's a Players Championship flag of Jason Day behind me right there. As we go on, I have a picture of Day that I've been trying to put on that I'll show off in a second, but it's probably my two favorite golfers, so we might get it somewhere in that area right over there.
I love it. I have a question for you while we're talking about it. I read online, I think Spencer, you referenced it. A lot of the guys who were there, some of the players have referenced that the greens are extremely hard and the rough is extremely long, longer than past iterations of the event. So it sounds like what people are saying is it could play more difficult this week than it has in the past. Are you guys buying that, one? And two, if you guys had to give a number for what you think the winning score will be this week, what would you say? We'll start with you, Spence.
I hear this answer so frequently from the tour that it's going to play difficult, and then we wake up on Thursday morning, like even last week, and Daniel Berger's 9 under par. I don't know if I necessarily buy it. What did Rory win at last year? And like 11 or 12, somewhere in that range?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be easier than that. Maybe a little bit harder than we've gotten through some of the other iterations recently where Scheffler kind of bulldozed himself out.
So what's your number?
2 times, yeah.
What is the over-under at for it?
Come on, Spencer. I wrote the Sports Illustrated panel piece, and I went with -11. I just think I'm kind of on board with you there, Joel. I think the Florida area seemed really firm. We saw at the Cognizant, just with a little bit of wind, how it played, right? Like that was hellish conditions, over par scoring. And the Players is a much more difficult golf course than the Cog. And we could see some wind. We've had really benign conditions at times at this golf course. And, it could throw people off. And if this rough is thicker, that makes those harder greens even more difficult to hit. So I think we're going to see some carnage, man. I'm hoping so.
I love it. I hope so too. I think that's what I'm looking for this week. I want to see the winner 6 under. Like that's how I want to see it. Yeah. That's probably a little too low. I don't think it'll be that, but I think you can get some carnage. And realistically, what will probably happen is what we've seen more recently is we might see the winner be like 11 or 12 under, maybe a couple guys 8 or 9 under, and then no one else 6 under or better, right? It could be a couple guys that separate themselves and then a carnage for, the majority of the field. So we will see. Spence, did you end up coming to an answer, or are you just not going to give one?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to give an answer when I really have no indication. I mean, I think weather's going to play a big factor here. My initial lean would be that it's going to be a little bit easier than 11. Like, if I'm giving an answer, I'm purely just pulling a number out of my ass at this point.
So just pulling it out of your ass. I'm down for it. What do you got?
Let's smell it, baby.
Rory won at 12. Scotty won at 20. Scotty won at 17. Cameron Smith won at 13. I know that's your boy Byron, but I've never seen somebody, maybe other than like from a statistical profile, like he never found a fairway.
That was the Akshay Bhatia. Akshay went full Cam Smith.
Oh god, I lost so many units on Akshay. I just kept fading Akshay every single round. Fowler and Straka and all these names, and just not one time did it ever come through correctly.
269.5 is the line at DraftKings.
Okay, so I mean you're right in like the ballpark. My initial guess would have been like 13 to 15. Okay. So I mean I guess that's probably even a little bit more than what the books are saying.
What is
about what the books are saying?
284.
Yeah, I guess it's right where the books are saying based off of that. But
now, one more question for you guys before we get into the draft right now. There's a couple pretty big time players this week who have like these questionable sickness injuries, that are going to be tough to make a decision on. Well, first one, the obvious one's Rory, right? We already talked about it. He's hurt. He is going to try and play. How much is that? Are you just going to risk playing him hurt? Are you just going to fade him until you see, if he looks healthy enough to get through? And the other one's Jake Knapp, who I saw someone write on X that he had a back injury, but I don't know if that's true. I think he was just sick. And so now there's this confusion of like, was it a back injury or is he just sick? Because the back injury would make me say, I don't want to play him. If he was just sick and he's over it, I would be okay with going back to him. So I'm curious on your take on both Rory and Jake Knapp this week. I'll go with you, Byron.
Christopher Powers, C Powers 14 on X. We can blame him if this is inaccurate.
Okay.
He does write for, I think, Golf Digest. So who the hell knows? Just talked to Boyd Summerhays, who started working with Jake Knapp earlier this year. Says it was not an illness that forced his WD at Bay Hill. Slight back tweak, product of a busy start to the season. Says he played 9 yesterday and 9 today, and he feels good and was swinging it well. 4 days off last week was necessary.
Interesting. So he says he's playing well and he feels okay, but it is a back injury, which is definitely more concerning than just being sick.
You want to know something crazy? I don't know if either one of you guys have an opinion on this. I was looking at first round lines for matchups. I saw that at a really sharp book out. I mean, I guess I can say the book. I don't know why I'm trying to like be all secretive of what this book is, but over on Bookmaker, Jake Knapp is an underdog in round 1 to Sungjae Im. I just thought that was very, very interesting because I would much prefer, like, that's the biggest discrepancy that I have in my model of Knapp over Sungjae there. And I don't exactly know what people think they know. And then that's the concern of Knapp's back might be worse than actually anticipated.
I would have to think the only logical reason that would be is they think he's hurt. Because there's no way you're putting Sungjae Im over Jake Knapp the way Jake Knapp's been playing this year, and Sungjae Im he played one tournament last week. He hasn't been playing all year, so I don't see how anyone could put him ahead of him unless they know Jake Knapp's hurt.
Yeah, and that is a book that is much more likely to be aggressive with their stance. I don't love it coming from there. Like if it comes from Pinnacle, if it comes from Bookmaker, if it comes from Circa, I would like to see where those two books have round 1 numbers. And if there's any sort of a coinciding theme that goes on into play, I would be more concerned based off of that. I mean, I'm not going to have one book necessarily derail me from the Jake Knapp take because he has been so phenomenal this season when he has been healthy, and he's popping in the model over and over and over again. I don't know. I saw that, and normally that would be the one I'm firing on, and that would be the play I was giving. And I have sat back up till this point, and I mean, it's not really the smartest thing to say a bet live on air that you're thinking about taking, which probably will move the number. But I don't know. It was an interesting thing at the end of the day.
Well, we did get from Johnny Two Bets that Byron is the Sex Panther of Golf DFS Twitter, which is true because I can confirm 60% of the time Byron wins every time. So that is a fact. So here we go.
60% of the time, Byron's working all the time.
Fact. That's fact. But we do have a draft ahead of us tonight. A draft for the players, which I am very excited about. Spencer, I didn't even get a chance to congratulate you. I was basking in my wins and bragging about how great I was over the weekend. I didn't even get to say congratulations to you on taking down the win in our draft. You did need some injury help to get there, but you got it and you won nonetheless. So congratulations, Spence. It's on you to pick the order tonight. What order are you going with?
You know what's funny is So you and I, Joel, have been the only two that have been punished on this show, and we both didn't get out of punishment week 1. And the second week where it rolled around, we were able to get out of punishment from the audience helping us make our picks from the selections we had given them. So, I mean, the audience is technically just winning over and over and over again. Yeah, I needed a lot of help. Look, I mean, you can win 36,000. You can win a contest that means very little. To some people, it might mean a lot, and we can figure out which one actually is worth more money at the end of the day here. But I will gladly take my win. I will gladly get myself out of the punishment zone. I'm going to give my...
Ooh, he's going to give himself the eject button.
I don't know what is wrong with my connection at this point, but that's like, it's been happening almost every single show that I do, where I change screens and I try to go back to my model and the whole thing just implodes on itself. Like, doesn't seem good. I might need a new computer at some point. So I might need to win $36,000 so I can buy a new computer.
Dude, RAM is expensive right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. I will give myself the first pick. I don't think I necessarily need it. You guys can decide where you want to go from there. I don't really care what the order is, to be honest with you.
All right, here's what we'll do. Spencer's got the first pick. He's going to be on the clock. Audience, the first person to put an order in that has Spencer first and audience last. So basically choose where you want me and Byron to go. That's the order we'll go with. We need an answer quick, because if I don't see an answer in 10 seconds after I give the rundown on how the draft works, then I'm going to pick the order myself. So if anyone's new to the show tonight, the way the drill works is that we're going to do a live draft. So I'll pull up the draft board so you can see it. And we're going to draft 4 teams. It works like your typical fantasy football snake style draft. Spencer will go first. It'll go 2, 3. Audience, you will go last. You will have 2, and then we will go back. The big caveat here is you do need to be able to afford your lineup in a DraftKings tournament. So you can't just take all the best players. You need to actually be able to afford the guys that you take in your lineup. So be conscious of the prices as we go. If you're following along and you're not on YouTube, get on YouTube and get in the chat, because that's how you can draft along with us. So when the audience goes turn to pick, anyone in the chat can nominate a player. To nominate a player, just enter their name in the chat. When that player is, or any player is mentioned twice, that is the audience's pick. So when a player's name is brought into the audience chat the second time, it is locked in for team audience. I see Courtney got in late. Courtney has been the team audience captain this season. Courtney, we super appreciate you. We'd appreciate you captaining the squad again today in the big week for the Players' Championship. The order is in. Byron got the second pick. So we're going to go Spencer, Byron, myself, team audience. Spencer, with the first pick, you're on the clock.
So I don't want to influence action behind myself. I do assume I know where this is going to go, and this is probably one of the reasons why I did not need to give myself the number 1 pick. I probably could have gotten him at 2 or 3, but I've taken this stance this week over and over again that this is the player that I want to really start building around, and that's Siwoo Kim at $9,300. You look at the ball striking numbers from him, they are as good as you are going to see. He's gained over 43 shots to this field over his 7 tournaments from a ball striking perspective. That is the type of profile that you would normally expect to win a golf tournament. It's very rare to gain 43 strokes ball striking in 7 events and not find yourself in the winner's circle. And how you do that is you are one of the worst putters on tour consistently, like Siwoo Kim is, and you lose negative 2.25 strokes per event. Removes a win from your profile. You play some of the best golf that you have in your career. You don't get across the finish line. And I guess my one concern with this would be that there is a chance that we have missed the window of him actually winning a golf tournament. But I look at the price points here, and I bet him at 40-1 right when numbers opened on Monday. We've seen this get bet down into like the 19 to 25-1 range, depending on where you're looking at. And there are a lot of guys that make sense. I definitely weighed a lot less putting in my model than I normally would. And that's how you get this production profile that has Scotty the favorite, Siwoo Kim as the second favorite. And then I assume the name that Byron is going to take is actually my third favorite on this board. But this model that I ran, I put a threshold return in it to remove any player that wasn't top 20 in the field in any of these singular categories. So they had to be top 20 in all of these areas. Expected proximity at Sawgrass, weighted driving for the week. That's another Sawgrass category. Technically, these all are weighted scoring, which is going to look at just overall scoring at this course and how players find their production. And then weighted strokes gained total, which takes that complete outlook at TPC Sawgrass, takes the dispersion of scoring in the past and tries to figure out who's fitting enough of those boxes to actually find success here. And those 4 names, well, I guess I'll say them as the show goes on to not influence it, but Siwoo Kim was one of those 4. I assume Byron's next pick will be another one of those. And then as the other 2 come in, I'll let you know who they are.
There you go. Siwoo Kim off the board. You know, Siwoo Kim is interesting this week. I like Siwoo a good amount. I think the big question with him, and Spence, what you were referencing, is can he make enough putts to win the tournament, right? Because the ball striking has been there. The accuracy is there. He's going to need to get a hot putter. And I think he does. I think he's got as much upside as anybody. So I will have some Siwoo in my player pool. How about you, Byron? Will you be playing Siwoo, and then you're up with your first pick?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing some Siwoo. The thing with him is he's like rivaling Colin, at least from what I'm seeing right now in ownership too, which I don't think I'll play them both in the same lineup, which I think a lot of people might be doing, and that's why they're so popular. I'm taking a look at his putting, and it's been okay. He's gained strokes putting a couple times, like 3 of the last 6, so he can potentially spike, and the putting has been spiky as well, over the last little while. So not really, it's been bad, but I think he's a perfect course fit. And he kind of struggled at Riv and Pebble, but that was like tournament number 5 and tournament number 6. And it wasn't like he was just messing around in like the middle of the pack. He was like contending hard, burning Candlewick, like a lot. So I think he was potentially a little competitively burned out. And then he took the cog off. And we got a 13th at the API, which isn't necessarily like the greatest venue for him. But, I think we can expect him to be playing some good golf when he gets here.
Boom. I agree. All right. Well, Siwoo's up the board, so you can't have him. You can't take Morikawa either. So who you taking with your first pick?
Okay, I won't take Colin. I'll take Morikawa instead. And, I mean, I'm just going to be a square. Yeah. Everyone knows why he's good. I think he's in incredible form right now. The putter is actually providing strokes to his game. The last 3 tournaments, including one of the wins at Pebble, which I don't fancy that bad of a calm course this week. I think the kind of proximities you get on approach, Pebble's similar, and just drive the ball well. So I think Colin's going to be obviously very popular, and I've bet the guy. So, I mean, it's going to be a fun time. He gets to go off on Thursday morning, it looks like, as well, which I think is currently looking like the slightly better of the 2, Thursday waves right now. And he's affordable too.
What's really interesting about Colin this week, and, it really is the tale of current form. 1 month ago, 4 weeks ago from today, he was unplayable. No one would have touched him. His ownership would have been 1% in this tournament. 4 weeks later, he might be the highest owned golfer in the tournament. 4 weeks can change that much. Mm-hmm. And not only that, 4 weeks ago, his price was in the mid 7K range. And now he's one of the most expensive golfers that you have to play in only 3 exchanges. And so my biggest thing about that is he's playing great. I would have taken him in this pick if I had to take a pick. I didn't. I'm not going to get him. I love Colin this week. I want to play him. But the point that I'm making by saying all this is there's often times, and we say this a lot, where somebody might be, was been really good or has been playing well, and then maybe they have an off week, and then people want to get way off them. And I think this is kind of to show you that it's like Colin Morikawa had more than an off week, where he had an off season. For a better way of saying it. But we know he was great. He's been great before, and now he's showing that he's back. And so this is the types of guys who, you're allowed to, look at a guy who's maybe struggled for a season. When they find that form back, just jump right back on. We know what he's capable of. We know the upside. If Bud Cauley has 3 good weeks in a row, probably won't be as optimistic as we are on Colin Morikawa. Obviously, he has a little bit more upside and things like that. But the point is, it's crazy how much can change in just a couple of weeks, and how now he's become the highest owned, the most playable golfer in DFS when he went from unplayable in less than a month ago. So he's also a really good course fit. So he just makes a lot of sense on this course. It's not just that he's playing really well. He's playing really well and going to a course that just makes a lot of sense for his game. Spence, I know you don't need to spend much time talking about Colin Morikawa, why we like him, but I guess my question for you would be the opposite. Is there any reason you wouldn't play Morikawa this week?
I mean, he's going to be the highest owned player on the board. I don't think that's a reason to necessarily not play him. He's fourth in my model in weighted scoring. That's going to be behind Scheffler, Rory, Siwoo. You talked about it, Joel. It's really funny when you look at these players. A name like Morikawa, because he has the major championship pedigree, I understand he won at Pebble, and that's going to be enough to just really put people back in on him. But not every single player gets that sort of a bump when they find success. Like you and I have talked about a lot of names that find success of their own, and for whatever reason, people do not want to play them. But people are quick to jump back in on the Colin route. Unfortunately, he is a very good course fit here. And for that reason, it's kind of hard to ignore him. And I think there's a reason why, if you look at any of the sharp books, he's typically the second favorite at this point. I've seen him as low as like 14, 15, 16 to 1 at some of these sharper books to actually win this tournament. You can find better in the space if you shop around. But when you start seeing that movement of let's move in a positive direction at the sharp books, that's generally not a good sign if you're trying to fade somebody.
There you have it. I'm curious. I wonder if anyone knows. We might not be able to find it at this point, which is totally fine. But if anyone knows or can find, what was Colin's odds a month ago to win this tournament? If that was available, if anyone can find that, I'm curious to see how much that has changed over the last.
I'm insulted, Joel.
You have it?
Oh yeah, I'll put it up for you in a little bit, Jen. Just pulling it up quick.
All right. Well, then, while we wait with my pick here, I'm going to take one of my favorite golfers, and that is Minwoo Lee. Minwoo Lee at 75K. I think the value is really strong. I think there's a really strong mid 7K range where you can find some real value golfers. I have plenty of upside. I would put Minwoo Lee on my board ahead of a lot of the guys in the 8K range. The way he's been playing recently has been fantastic. And he's giving you 2 top 10s in his last 3 tries, and the third was a top T12. So he's been just fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know he can crush the ball off the tee, but he's not just crushing it. He's been accurate with it too. So it's not just spraying the ball over the place. He's hitting it further than everyone and putting it in the fairway. So I think here that's going to give him a big edge, especially for a guy who's also really strong around the greens. So for him, he's going to be knocking him up there. If he falls off the green or doesn't stick it on, he's going to be really good cleaning him up. He's strong with his bogey avoidance, so he shouldn't run into too much trouble. I think Minwoo Lee can go up there and win this tournament, but I certainly see another top 10 or top 15 in the cards at only 7,500. He's definitely someone I'm anchoring my lineups around. Team audience, great job starting to get your nominations in. It looks like one is locked, and we're waiting for that second. While we wait for the second to get locked, we'll start with you, Byron. Are you on Minwoo Lee this week?
Yeah, I've bet him. So I think, and I do not, this is probably the first time I've bet Colin Morikawa probably in years. I think I probably bet him 2 players ago. That was probably the last time I bet Colin. So, by the way, Joel, AT&T Pebble Beach, 66 to 1. Waste Management Phoenix Open, 49 to 1.
Wow.
Wow.
To give you some
insane
context, you can look at the golfers that are 66 to 1 this week, comparatively, like what those odds are. So they were pricing him at a 66 to 1 number, which is similar to like Ryan Gerard, who I like Ryan Gerard, but he's not going to win the tournament. Or Alex Noren, who again, I like Alex Noren. He's not going to win the tournament, I don't think. So,
bold statements, Joel.
I don't think they're going to win. I really don't. But that just goes to show you how much has changed. So the audience, 2 solid picks, Ludwig and Cameron Young off the board. Disappointing, because I would have taken both of those golfers. I think the audience is off to another great start. I think the audience has been maybe the best drafter, probably the best drafter statistically this season. Team audience has been fantastic, and I think they're off to another great start here. Ludwig for sure will be one of the higher owned. I mean, he's finding his form again for me. But also, let's not forget, Ludwig lives right around the corner from this course. This is like where he practices, where he plays. Yeah. So he should definitely have the course familiarity and feel comfortable here, which might be another edge in his direction. And at 8,700, he's underpriced. I would have been, last year, Ludwig would have been 10K at this point, at least 9.7 or 9.8. So to give it only 8.7 feels like a pretty steep discount to me. Spence, we'll go to you here. Are you on Ludwig and Young?
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Joel, you weren't going to get both of them. My next two picks were going to be those two names, so I couldn't have gotten both of them. If you were going to take one, I would have taken whichever one you didn't. I think in the $8,000 section, that's just value that the audience has started with. And you're correct. I mean, the audience continues to do this every single week where they're kind of running a masterclass. Don't want to toot their horn too much with this, but like every single week, it's the same thing where it's like value after value after value. And then all these names are off the board. And, I guess, it's funny, Joel, because you asked the question very early on, are your player pools more compact at this point? And I gave the answer of, I don't know right now. And when those two names immediately came off the board, I found myself in a spot where there was a lot that I feel like I'm not getting now. So I guess just naturally my player pool is more compact than maybe I even realized it was, because I already feel worse about whatever the lineup I'm going to put together with those two picks that were just taken.
I guess my one question is, what is the ownership number you're seeing on both guys?
So I'll let Byron answer this also. I've only run this one time. I have Oberg at 24%. I have Cameron Young at 20%.
There we go.
Yeah, so both pretty high.
Yeah. They are probably the only two. Maybe we will discuss about another name if we need to. High ownership in the 9-ish 10K. Let's continue. We'll figure that out as we go. But these two guys are two guys that are high owned.
Fair enough. All right. I know it's someone that you're trying to save for your pick, which is good strategy. So can't knock you for it. I am going to go with Jacob Bridgman with my next pick. Jacob Bridgman. I think we said it last 2 weeks even.
Yeah.
At this point, as well he's been playing this year, I am actually surprised that they still have him in the 7K range. I know it's 7.9, it's close to 8. I thought he could have been 9K. That's how good he's playing this year. And so, the fact that there's legacy golfers that no matter how they're playing, they're just going to be priced ahead of them, which is kind of silly a little bit, but no one's going to be really all that interested this week in, Griffin, right? Who's not that much more expensive, but he's still 8.3. I would have priced him probably. I mean, I would prefer him over Hideki Matsuyama, who's 9.5. So there's guys that just, and I can understand why Hideki Matsuyama was priced higher, but I think Bridgman's just being disrespected by his form. It's not just a 3-week stretch at this point. It's been all of the 2026 calendar year. He's been consistently excellent. And his game should really suit this course. So it's not just he's been really good, but he's a course fit. And if you want to look at accuracy off the tee, he's a plus. If you're going to look at his approach game, he's a big plus, and he's just draining putts. So if he continues to drain putts the way he has with everything else going, another top 20 result, top 15 should be in store. Spencer, I saw the pain in your eyes when I made the pick. I assume you were hoping to get Bridgman as well.
So I have a screen to the side where I try to fill in the lineup on the DraftKings website. And so Siwoo, Cameron Young, Oberg, Bridgman were 4 of the names. So now I've removed 3 of those golfers from what I wanted. When I talked about there being certain golfers that do not get the respect, and maybe I tipped my own hand on that one, that's one of the central names that I was speaking of there. I would be curious to hear your guys' opinion on this bet. Very early on in the week, I gave Jacob Bridgman in a matchup against Sam Burns, minus 120. I think that number's moved quite a bit. Do either of you guys have thoughts on that bet?
I like the Bridgman side by a good amount.
Yeah. Sam isn't necessarily playing the greatest, most consistent golf. So if you lose that bet, Sam probably had a random spike because Bridgman is going to be solid.
It's funny with the Burns profile. I one of the things I did this week is I looked into lead-in form to this tournament of what golfers have done in the past over the last handful of events. And Burns, while finding success in this tournament, every single time brings some of the worst form that you could ever imagine here, and then seems to be able to spike. And not every golfer can do that. Most of these guys, when they come here, they just continue to play poorly. So, yeah. I mean, I guess that would be my concern if you do end up taking the bet. But on the flip side of the equation there, Bridgman's a top 15 golfer for me in pretty much all iterations of my model. And it's kind of like you talked about, Joel. I could see this price tag legitimately being in that upper 8s, low 9s. And I really would not bat an eye to it. So I just think you have an underpriced golfer at the end of the day. that has the ability we have seen in elevated tournaments. That's like the key to this, that can actually win, and we don't even need him to win at this price tag. So I think he's a really good pick. I think he's one of the better values on the board. And if we want to just talk about like the savviness of the draft to begin with, not that bookmaker is necessarily the end all be all of what matters for movement, but if you look at the three biggest outright movers between Monday to Tuesday, Siwoo Kim's number 1, Minwoo Lee's number 2, Jacob Bridgman's number 3. So, I mean, those are 3 of the first 6 picks that have gone off the board.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that, but that is very, very interesting. And I'll add one more point on Burns before we pass over to Byron for his pick. And Byron, you were kind of saying something similar when you were explaining, the Burns spike week. The way I look at Burns is like the way I would want to play him is almost like in a matchup like that, where he's because like Burns is the type of guy who, if he could have a hot putter week and hit the ball pretty well and have a really good result, it's certainly possible. Burns is a good player. But the baseline isn't as good, right? Like if they played the tournament 10 times, I would bet a lot of money Bridgman would beat Burns more times out of 10. But there's that one time where Burns could just have the higher upside, where he might get you a top 5, or Bridgman might just get 10th to 15th every time. So that's what, like, and that's the difference between GPPs and playing cash lineups too. It's like there's a lot of volatility with Burns. He might hurt you, but that one time he spikes and he gets you that top 5, like that's what he can do. So he's more of a GPP type of target for me in the Bridgman.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, Jacob Bridgman's absolute. He's got like a 7% more top 5 percentage than Sam Burns, who only finishes inside the top 5 10% of the time. So, when you're kind of looking at it amidst these salary tiers, that 10% is actually red, which is like, sticking out to me. He's 17% white, and then guys like Scotty's 27% is green, So it's actually not as much upside as he has been historically, So it's good to see that. And you mentioned Ben Griffin with Jacob Bridgman. You know that Jacob Bridgman's worst finish in 2026 is better than Ben Griffin's best finish.
There you go. So that's the answer we were looking for. So that goes to show you. And he's still priced ahead of him.
And you're still priced ahead of him. So that's a solid pick. I'm going to go with the next best option here, who I honestly believe can win this tournament. I've also bet him too. And it's Russell Henley.
I quit. I just quit at this point.
At 9K, you are barely changing your average remaining salary, man. And you are getting a guy that's in my model. You're getting somebody that I'm seeing 20% ownership on his name right now. I don't know if I believe that, because he came in at 6% ownership last week. So to jump 14% in ownership, unless the market is like ultra dynamic, I think he might still come in the teens a little bit. But I love his price. I love the course fit. I love the consistency. He's Sex Panther, baby. 60% of the time, he's inside the top 20 all the time. And that's actually, since I gave him the nickname, it's now 71% of the time. So he's Sex Panther premium now. And I think, Russell Henley is a safe play, given his consistency. And if the greens are firm, hitting fairways here is essential. And he's top 6 in the field in accuracy. So I like it a lot.
I'll add, this course is conducive for a lot of blowups. Guys can be in here and have a really bad stretch and kind of play themselves out of it. Where that's another reason why I like Henley. Henley's one of the best at bogey avoidance, at avoiding those blowups, and just staying consistent. He might not he probably wouldn't win a tournament at 30 under. That's not his game. But if you put him at a course like this, that's really challenging to avoid the mistakes. That's what he does best. So another one who I think just a really good course fit going this week.
0 bogeys at API.
Oh, there you have it. So
over the weekend. Sorry.
Over the weekend. So, but still, especially heading into this week, that matters. That matters for sure. All right, Spence, you got Siwoo. Everyone else you wanted is gone. You got 2 here. Where are you going from here?
This is the problem. I realized this the other week, Joel, where when you try to pre-plan a draft out, it never goes correctly. At any single time, historically, we can look back. Like, unless I win in the repeat week after winning before, I always come last right after, because I give myself the number 1 pick. I think I'm doing something savvy, and then the board plays out in the most suboptimal path, and then I sit here taking players that I didn't actually want. And like, that's part of the problem here is I guess I keep going back to the same answer, but like, I guess you are correct. Like, the player pool for me is very condensed in this zone right now. And I would like Cameron Young. I would like Ludwig Oberg. I would like Colin Morikawa. I would like to go down to Bridgman, which is fine. I can find other names around him. But when you remove like the Oberg, Young, Morikawa, Henley, that is kind of exactly the range I'm trying to build with. And I think a lot of people are with Siwoo. I guess what I'm going to do here, and I'm terrified that this is just going to absolutely blow up in my face. I'm going to take Matthew Fitzpatrick, I guess. He was so bad on the weekend. I had a bet of him on him over Hideki Matsuyama and watched that thing go to about as much shit as it could over the last 4 or 5 holes there. Oh. He continues to grade really well in my model because it's a long-term perspective of it. And some of that iron play, I'm just going to hope for the best on it. Like, he's still number 3 in my model if I look at the in-event correlation for this tournament. And I think there's something to be said about that a bad round or 2 shouldn't necessarily get people off of him where the entire space wanted to take him previously. But I'll start with him. I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do next, but you guys can talk about the Fitzpatrick play, and then I'll make my next selection in a second.
Well, I generally say, Fitzpatrick was one of the darlings of last week. Everyone wanted to play him, the one everyone was on, and he disappointed. And it usually means there's an overcorrection where now no one wants to play him, and he's going to probably be under-owned to what he should be. And while he did disappoint last week, it probably doesn't mean he's disappeared from what you saw last week. So I would actually say if the ownership ends up going really low, he's been pretty good this year. I actually think he could have a good week, and people just kind of got turned off because he didn't show up the week that the models really liked him. So I like the Fitzpatrick pick. I wonder what you're doing with Fitzpatrick this week, Byron.
It's an ownership situation because he's actually projected around 15%, So if you're going with him, that's also not terrible. Whatever. We're going to have a bunch of different names at the bottom in the 7K range. I think that could be where you definitely get different. And Floplag City, Joel, like you mentioned, I think he could absolutely, he was going to win this tournament. I bet Fitz for like the first time in forever as well last week. And I think if I bet him there, this is like a very solid ball striking venue that you got to get it together. And Fitz, he's been solid, man. So he's also got a 5th and 3 miscuts. So, he can give you the upside you're looking for in your lineup for sure. And he hasn't missed.
He's also one of those, when you're talking about his history, he's been one of those where it's like he's been a mixed bag the last couple of years. Like, we've said he's gone to this tournament a few times where he was just unplayable and terrible form. It wasn't the good Fitzpatrick that we know. And then there's been times where he's the top 10 player in the world, and that's when you want to play him. Right now, I wouldn't say he's terrible. He's not the top 10 player, but he's probably top 20. He's right there. He's playing well. So he's in the better form to play him than some of the years past where he's just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
All right.
What I was going to say is, if we're directly comparing, and I understand that that's not what this show is, I would rather play Cameron Young than him at a cheaper price tag, but it's the tough thing of this show that you kind of have to make a decision with it. I'm actually going to go a couple spots down my model here. This is a golfer for me that when I ran out any of this extended stuff for him, which is Adam Scott, by the way, is who I'm taking. The ball striking is phenomenal right now. And this is a golfer at this tournament. We saw him early in his career. He took down this event. He's been a lot less steady here over the last handful of years. Miscut, 71st, 45th, miscut. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's at least some concern that's being had with him of people afraid to go back down that well. But the one thing, if I'm trying to at least sell the narrative of why he still makes sense, 4.08 strokes ball striking that he has gained over his last 5 tournaments. If we compare that to other iterations of those results I just talked about, he did have a 3.2 strokes gained in 2024 when he came in 45th. So you're about a stroke better there. And then the rest of them, you're a stroke and a half better or substantially better on some of those. What I really like, though, is the putter has been extremely good throughout the last 2 weeks. He's even gained around the green. So it's like you have this ball striking profile that's also meeting a profile that's looking at 2 positive times gaining in a row on around the green and putting. So I think he's undervalued. Like, this price tag for me is a golfer that has more upside than meets the eye, and frankly probably has a little bit more safety than the public is really wanting to give him credit for.
I normally don't like Adam Scott, but after hearing you and looking into it a little bit, your ball striking is better than I thought. You're right. He's been really solid. And I'll quickly tell a quick story. I just saw online today about Adam Scott. He told the story about, I don't know if he said it was his first time playing the tournament, but it was early in his career, the year he won. And he said after round 1 on Thursday, he took his wife out to dinner right across the street. They're at the bar, they're eating. And he goes, a couple of guys were kind of sitting at the bar. And one of the guys goes, "Oh, who's this guy leading the tournament?" And then one of the guys goes, "Oh, it's just some nobody, no-name scrub." And he's sitting right next to him. And he goes, "No, it's me. I'm in the lead. I end up winning the tournament." But he goes, "That stood out." He goes, "I remember that forever, that these guys just told me some no-name guy went on to win the tournament." Now he's become a legendary PGA golfer. So pretty fun story there.
Is he going to start in his 100th major this year?
Is that what it is? Wow.
I think there's something involved with, he's not in the US Open maybe, but might be now. But he's setting records, I think, with his major consecutive starts, which is just legendary. I think it's going to be 100 straight majors.
That is a lot. That is a ton.
I might be lying, but I think it is.
I believe it. Especially just like he never got hurt. Like, he just played every time.
That's the thing. That's what's so legendary about it, because it's unbelievable almost. Like literally in the term there. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with the unbelievable here, and I'm gonna go with Shane Lowry.
Wow.
He's 5th in my model, and he's $8,600. So there's a monster value there. I've bet him top 20 plus 200. He's finished top 20 at 4 of the last 5 times he's played at Sawgrass, and he's entered the week with the 8th and a 2nd. Like, he's lost tournaments in epic fashion, but he's $8,600. He can lose to freaking Henley this week. I don't care. I haven't bet him outright, but he's very good right now. And this course suits his skills so well. He's actually putting like quite impressively too, So
that's where I got to push back with you for a second, because if Lowry is playing well and has a lead and has to hit the ball off the tee on one of these water holes, I'm concerned.
Well, Joel, he's still going to finish 3rd. Like,
that's fair. No, you're right.
Would you take 3rd from the beginning of this week?
Yeah, you're right. He'll drop. He'll drop from 1st to 5th or 6th, which will still win you a GPB. It's fine as long as Henley and work out.
Look, I guess taking it from you, I don't know anything. I haven't won $35,000 just sitting at a child's bar mitzvah or something. But I think he's going to come in undervalued in the public. I think he's 9% right now, and that's good enough for like the 3rd place at 9% ownership is better than like a 2nd place with 25% ownership kind of thing. So
me joking is exhibit A of why you're absolutely right, because I'm making fun of him because of his collapse and he put it in the water. And the reality is everyone's thinking the same thing I am, is that he choked, he collapsed, he stinks, I'm not playing him. But the reality is he doesn't stink. He's really good. He's been playing really good. He did choke and collapse, but that doesn't mean he's going to not be able to hit a good golf shot again. He didn't hit a good shot in the big moment, but generally he's playing really good golf. And now people are scared off because of that one moment.
I know
the miscut last week, which he probably was just a carryover from the previous week, I think.
I know we're going way too long on this show, and I'll try to speed up some of my answers in a second, but I do want to say one thing about Shane Lowry very quickly. I really never play him. My model never wants to find a way to fit him in. I think everything that Byron has said is so astute and so on point right now. It is the overcorrection that happens to golfers when somebody sees something ridiculous happen to them, where Shane Lowry blows the tournament. And then the caveat to that even more so is he then goes out and then misses the cut the next week. And now all of a sudden there is this concern of what's actually been done. And I want to say this. If you look at the ball striking metrics of where Lowry is coming into this tournament, I know I've talked a lot about this. This just happens to be another one of the players that I really did a deep dive into that I wanted to see how they normally fit. I took Shane Lowry in a matchup against Jordan Spieth at -125. And I think it's for all of those like overcorrections on the Spieth side with this like market influence of what people believe Shane Lowry is right now. But if you look at the 2023 Honda, Lowry comes in 5th place in that tournament. I don't remember exactly how that one ended. They all end terribly for him in some way to where he doesn't.
I think he was leading going into the day.
Well, yes. So like there you go even more. So he goes out to the API. He comes in 67th place. He loses 2.7 strokes approach. Well, he goes to the Players the next week and he gains 6.5 shots approach. It's literally almost the same profile that we're looking at. Second place at the Cognizant. He loses 2.3, misses the cut at the Arnold Palmer. Now all of a sudden he's been written off and nobody really wants to seem to want to play him. I love this at sub 10%. I think this is like exactly where you want to be landing. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. And when I was trying to decide, like add it to the mix, it was Adam Scott or Shane Lowry. And I really thought Shane Lowry would get back to me. So good pick by Byron, another player off the board for me. But I think that we're kind of seeing all the names that you want to be focusing on right now.
All right. Sensor did make a good point. We are running behind time. So I'm going to speed things up here. I'm locked in here on my next pick. I'm going to take Sepp Straka. I'm surprised he was able to last to me here. I think Sepp Straka is a great pick. And he's one who, no matter what happens, right, they just won't move Sepp Straka out of the 7K range. Like, to me, he's a guy who I think should be mid 8K. Like, he's been playing well. He's consistent. He's got upside. But Sepp Straka is just always in that 7K range, which to me is a great value. So I love Sepp Straka this week. Audience, you're on the clock. We need to. It looks like some nominations are coming in. So let's see. Let's get those nominations in to nail in those 2 picks. While we wait, we'll go back to you here, Byron. Sepp Straka in your player pool.
I've bet him. So
yes.
I'm probably, like that's the thing. You're seeing literally all these high-owned guys I've got bets on kind of thing. So it makes a lot of sense. He's $7,600, like you're mentioning, Joel. Like that's insane. He's got a 2nd and a 13th. I'm basically considering last week's 13th as like a top 5 because he went into the weekend T3. Like one bad round, whatever. Like usually he's pretty solid under the gun. So I think the fact that we've seen 2 high-end finishes in the last 3 starts, let's go.
Ooh.
I also bet him, by the way. I have him in a matchup and I have him as an outright.
Let's go, Spence.
What
It's his week.
Did you guys bet him at?
I got him at 66-1 early in the week before he moved.
That's a good number. I like that one.
I thought 52 was solid. Like I was still,
Yeah.
Boom. I love it. All right. Audience, great job. Both picks are in. Jake Knapp and Sahith Theegala. So I'll give you my quick 2 cents. I'm normally a guy who loves Theegala. I play Theegala more than most. I played him last week. I don't love Theegala this week. I think this is a course that the danger is going to catch up to him. I think he's probably going to find an implosion somewhere along the way. But Knapp I like more. If it's the back that hurts him, that's my only concern. If I knew Knapp was healthy, he'd be one of my higher owned golfers this week. That's how much. He's another one that's just underpriced for his form. So it's just the injury that we're thinking about. Spencer, I know you don't like Theegala. You never like Theegala, so I'm not even going to ask you about him, but we'll start with Knapp. I guess you already gave us your 2 cents on the injury. If you knew he was healthy, would you be playing Knapp this week?
If I knew he was healthy, I would be absolutely unloading on him. I think at this point he looks like a top 15 golfer in the world that really never gets treated like that. The unknown variable there is a problem. I will say this, the Theegala is very sharp in the market this week. I'm not playing him. As you said, I never play him. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just my numbers never seem to like him.
Boom. All right. Well, we're going to keep this moving along. I'm locked in with my next pick. Spencer, you fell a pick behind, so we still got to fill in. I took Straka last round, and then this round, I'm going to go ahead and take I think another guy just looks to be very mispriced. One of my favorite values on the board, Pearson Coody. He's a guy who's had a really good season. He's been striking it well. But at 6,700, it's super cheap. I thought he could have been in that mid 7K range with the rest of those guys. So Byron, I saw you had a little reaction to the pick. We'd love to get your take on Cootie this week.
No, it was the don't try rush the Spencer. Byron doesn't do a show under 2 hours. Just
okay. So you're totally fine
from
with
HBF.
Right,
yeah, I mean, we love Pearson Cootie for his value. I mean, he's 16th in my model, man, and he's sitting in the 6K range. Yeah. So the way he drives the golf ball around here is going to be important, and it's going to help the rest of his game. Hopefully, we'll see. He's going to be, probably quite popular though, I think. But that's not necessarily. So I like that a lot, Joel.
17th for me. I'm right in the same range as Byron there.
Boom. Yeah. Consensus. We are on Cootie. I love it. All right, Byron. Well, he's off the board. You got about 7,500 per pick. Where are you going with your fourth?
I'm going to do a Harris English, $7,500. I think he's a perfect pivot off of Minwoo and Sepp over there. Granted, he's not going to give you that much, like he hasn't nearly been as upsidey as we could hope for, but he's very good in difficult conditions. And I think we could expect that for the first 2 days, given the wind and things. So he's also not finished outside the top 28. He's also not finished better than 22nd. He's just been hanging out in the 20s all year, which at $7,500 is totally cool.
I think I said it last week or maybe the week before, but what I said about English was I like English when he's in the 7K range and getting underlooked as a value play. When English is 9K or 8,800, he's too much. I need too much out of him. And like you said, he kind of sits in that 20 to 25th. Like he gets you good results, but you need kind of more. And so I wasn't playing him when he was 8,800, but now he's back to 7,500, which is kind of where we're used to seeing him. And that's where I like him as a value play. So I'm with you on that. I think he's a sneaky value at only 7,500 and a guy who could be another good course fit here at Sawgrass. All right, Spence, you got two, about 8K per pick left. No one that you wanted is still on the board. So no. Come from here.
Honestly, almost any of these picks, like Sepp Straka, I would have loved him. Cootie would have taken him. English would have taken him. Like, it's just pretty much pick after pick. I'm going to go completely rogue with my lineup right now. I did this last week very early on in the show, which I guess technically the audience is what pushed me in this direction here by giving me the pick. But I'm going to take Tommy Fleetwood at 10,300. Like, I'm sitting here with all this salary that I don't really know what to do with. And this is kind of the spot that I keep finding myself wanting to take Oberg and Young and Colin Morikawa and not being able to do so. Like, I made this argument very early on in the week in one of the articles that I wrote. And like, I stand by this. If you compare Colin Morikawa to Tommy Fleetwood, you're probably looking at a 55-45, maybe 60-40 split of how often Colin Morikawa should win. And right now, depending on where your ownership exactly lands, you have about a 2-to-1 disparity in ownership, at least from what I see, of Colin Morikawa over Tommy Fleetwood. So I'm just going to kind of play the math here on a golfer that's top 10 in my model. I don't really love what I saw from him last week. But at the end of the day, he is still a top 6 player for me. I understand that that's not exactly the answer you want when he's the third highest priced player on the board. But if everybody's going to Colin Morikawa and kind of wants to leave a half priced or half owned Tommy Fleetwood, I'll bite here. I don't know what to expect, but I will bite here and hope for the best.
I'm a little higher on Fleetwood this week. I agree he didn't look great, but I kind of look at it like this. I don't love the top of the board. It's really hard to build lineups with Scheffler. He's a guy that's consistent. He's good off the tee. And, I'm not going to – I agree. He didn't look great last week, but he hasn't looked bad this year. Generally, he's been good. I think he can recover from last week's showing and get back into another top 10 and kind of erase the poor form last week. So I'm not afraid to get back to Fleetwood this weekend. I think he can get you a good result. Did you take your second pick or did you only go Fleetwood thus far?
No, I'm just like filibustering at this point, trying to just like have this show go on for as long as possible before a pick actually has to get made. I'm gonna take Max McGreevy at 6,500. There were two routes I was considering going here, either Max McGreevy or Matt McCarty. I mean, you can consider either one. I bet Max McGreevy here last year at 500 to 1. I laddered him across the board. I had him from a top 5 all the way up to a top 40. I watched him absolutely implode on Sunday when he was inside the top 5 or the top 10. He had I've given this story a couple times already, but he had this 51-yard iron shot on his second, and he airmailed the green. He airmailed the water behind it. He got stuck behind a tree. He tried to then play it over the water, completely chunked the ball, left it short, and then made like 10 more mistakes to just like take himself completely out of the running of it. Didn't get the top 5, didn't get the top 10, didn't get anything within really the top 20. I split it a million ways with it because of the dead heat. Did get the top 30 and 40 to at least salvage some of this, but there are so many metrics for both McGreevy and McCarty. I'll kind of include both of them as the same answer here, that love them on this course, whether it is the driving statistics of how they weigh for this venue, some of the stuff that they do in the wind. Like there is a lot to like about both of them. I will take McGreevy here. The market would tell you that McCarty is the right answer if you dive deeper into it. Both of them are very low owned, but I like both of them, but I'll take Max McGreevy for the show.
McGreevy off the board. All right, Byron, I'd love to hear from you. Are you interested in either McGreevy or Fleetwood this week?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Tommy's just kind of hanging around, right now. Yeah. I feel, but Spencer's team's, it's lacking a high price name. So he's kind of been backed into the corner there. I've got him ranked 10th. So it's not like he's a terrible option, just terrible versus his price. But in this situation, I think it's fine. Mm-hmm.
Who would you rather have, Fleetwood or Hideki?
Ooh, I'd probably go with Fleetwood.
I thought it was very close between the two. It was kind of the decision I was trying to make, ended up backing into Fleetwood there. But I mean, as Byron said, and as has been mentioned a million times on this show, there's a lot that's gone wrong in this draft for me. And it throws you into a player pool that I don't even plan at this moment to have Fleetwood in my player pool. So it kind of just shows how things can go south very fast.
Yeah. All right. There you have it. Byron, you got your 5th, about 7,500 per pick left. And what's interesting is we have really hammered this mid 7K range in this draft. So interested to see where you go from here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan Fox, $6,500. He is mispriced, 27th in the model. And you don't even have to talk my model rankings. Yeah, you can just say he's finished 27th, 45th, 24th, 24th, 7th, and 24th this year. And those finishes are in signature events. What on earth is someone with that kind of pedigree doing at $6,500? And he's like 4% owned. So, I mean, he's got his 27th and a 20th year in the last 3 players and a miscut. So, I mean, at $6,500, that's the perfect, like that seems like his floor, at least recently, and at this course. So anything better than that, and these conditions, I think will kind of suit him. He's a scrappy guy. So give me Ryan Fox at this price. I think that's just, he should probably be close to like high 7s, potentially 8, low 8 range.
And you're right. I mean, he's just looked really good this year. I mean, he's been competing. He's shown up on these leaderboards. So Ryan Fox does seem like a good value steal at this point of the draft. Quickly, before we move to the next pick, Spence, do you like Fox this week?
I do. He is the 6th best value that I have for DraftKings on the board.
All right. There you have it. All right. I'm going to go down and take another value play myself. Definitely the lowest on the board I'm going to go. And that's Joel Dahmen. I think Joel Dahmen, he's definitely a risky GPP play. But obviously you can see what I'm doing. If you want to get Scheffler, you have to hit on someone like that. The way this draft turned, a lot of the guys up top that I wanted left, I had some value. So I was able to make Scheffler work. Obviously, I'm going to take Scheffler last. Audience, you can't afford him. I made sure of that before I made this happen. So Scheffler will be my last pick. So to get Dahmen in there, obviously I'm only playing Dahmen because I want to put in Scheffler. He's the bottom of the board. But I do think Dahmen can, he certainly has the upside to get a good result. In terms of driving accuracy, that's one of his biggest strengths. So he should be able to find a lot of fairways. His ball striking is certainly there. It's the short game. Can he put together some putts in the short game to keep himself alive? If he strikes the ball really well and doesn't need to do too much around the green and can sink some putts, I think there is an upside week available for Joel Diamond. So it's a risk, but that's how the GPP risk you got to take in a Scheffler type lineup to make it work. Audience, your final two here. You have 9,300 per pick. So you can get some good players, plenty of money to spend. While we wait for those audience picks to get finalized, we'll go back to you, Byron, on Joel Diamond.
Yeah, I think maybe in this format, he's a bit more of like, I would prefer Ryan Fox over Diamond, but maybe in a GPP, happy to take Joel. Absolutely. I think you're on the right. You just mentioned it, so I'm not going to recite. I just did. So there we go. That's my opinion on Joel.
Boom. All right. There you have it. Hovland and Hideki, the two H's off the board. You guys add one more H, and then it will all about the game and how Spencer got it. I don't know if anyone else got that because Triple H and wrestling, because we are also wrestling fans on this show. But actually, Hovland I like this week. Hovland will definitely be in my player pool. I don't love Hideki this week, and I am a Hideki guy. I like Hideki. I just don't think this is the week I want to play him. So, but I understand where you guys are. Not a lot of other options up there. So where you guys are in this spot, I can understand how you felt to him. But we'll go to you, Spence. Are you interested in Hideki, which I know you kind of asked Byron about earlier, and Hovland?
Yeah, they're both top 15 in my model. Like they're not it's kind of the same answer I've given over and over again. It's not the first guy that I'm trying to rush into a build, but it's interesting from a construction standpoint as we sit here and we try to figure out how to build lineups where all of us seem to want to be in generally the same spot here of how do you pivot? How do you deviate? How do you make a lineup different? And Jody talked about like Rory and down to the 6Ks. That's an option that could have been done. There are ways to try to differentiate a build. I think that's just something for everybody to be cognizant of this week. Like just be aware of what lineups end up looking like and what happens with ownership when you do it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Hideki and Hovland are both top 15 players. They're not the first name that I'm trying to fit into a build, but I don't have a massive take against either one.
Boom. I think audience did a good job with this draft. A nice balanced looking build. I like the way the audience lineup has turned out. All right, my pick is obvious. Obviously, I set it up so I can get Scheffler with the last pick. Obviously, I wouldn't have taken Scheffler last, but it made more sense because no one else could take him by the last couple rounds because of affordability, and I was the only one that would be able to do it. So I don't know how much you need me to sell you on why I like Scotty Scheffler. Listen, he's the best player in the world, and I could afford him. I can 100% understand the argument, and you can make a more balanced roster this week without him, and he's not playing his absolute best. All fair, but he's still the best player in the world. He can go out and win the tournament, and then all of a sudden, he looks like a really good pick. So I'm rolling the dice with Scotty here in this draft. I'm happy the way this lineup turned out. Byron, back to you. 8,600 left. How you rounding out your squad?
I'm just going to take the fourth best golfer in the world at $8,500, Justin Rose. Can you believe he's the fourth best golfer in the world rankings? Like this guy's missed a million cuts this year already and won one tournament and broke all the records when doing so. So I think Rosie's got 3 missed cuts in his 6th year. So he could absolutely, he's kind of in the part of his life now. He's had like a midlife, not crisis, but like an inspiration. And I think the Players is probably just underneath a major for him to take down. And I don't think he's won a Players. So I think I've always said Justin Rose's game is always the same. It's just whether or not his mind shows up. And I think he literally just needs to get his brain engaged enough to big moments. And I feel like the Players is a big event. And if you see what he gets up to at majors, it's the same thing. It's boom or bust. But, I felt like I'd go a little risky with you there, Joel, after you went with Damon. So Rosie, he could win the tournament, man. But he could also finish last,
I don't feel like you took the same amount of risk that I took with Rose that I took with Damon, but I get where you're going with that.
Yeah.
I think Byron took a lot of risk with Justin Rose. I'll just I
don't know why I did it. I'm like kind of regretting it.
I think Byron kind of said it very eloquently of what this is. So I also deep dove the Rose profile because I have a matchup of Adam Scott versus him. That numbers moved a little bit, but I'm kind of terrified on what I'm seeing with the Rose profile. So every single time, and you could look at this, a mixed bag across the board every single year coming to this event. He wins a tournament, AT&T Pro-Am in 2023, the Farmers this year, top fives, a bunch of other things, and then misses like 3 cuts. It's legitimately the same profile over and over again. Anytime that he enters this tournament while losing strokes ball striking, he misses the cut. That's 2024 and 2025. Anytime that he enters this tournament gaining ball striking, he gives you a high-end finish. Like we saw that in 2023, gaining 1.34. In fairness, probably a little bit better across the board than what we're seeing right now, but still comes in 6th place. He's gained 2.24 strokes approach over his last 5 tournaments. The approach play looks really good. I don't know about the off the tee stuff. I don't know where the around the green stuff stands. I don't know about the putter, but this is one of those boom or bust routes where you look on Thursday and Rose is either in 1st place or Rose is like 9 over par. And I'm not going to promise that we're not going to look on Thursday and Rose is not going to be the 1st round leader. And that's what scares me about the bet with Adam Scott. Like I like the ticket, but I know there's risk involved. And as Byron said, it's like, he's also aware that there's risk involved in it. It's something that he's willing to stomach with it on a player that has shown a million times that he is big game hunting.
And that's, I think the point, that's the point we were making earlier too, where Rose is one of those guys where he's the GPP player, right? He's not someone you want to play in a safe, small tournament. You want to play him in a big GPP. He has the upside to get you win the tournament, get a great result, but he could also miss the cut and have a terrible week. So he's still 4th in the world though. So he's, we know the upside's there. 4th in the official golf world ranking. So Justin Rose off the board.
I blame Ryan Fox for actually picking him because I wanted to be a giant bitch and not leave any money on the table basically, and then went to Rose. I probably should have gone 7Ks, both of them, but.
Listen, I like the way your squad has turned out as well. I guess quick question while you're talking about it, how much money are you willing to leave on the table in a tournament like this week? Especially since if you're not going to be playing Scotty, it seems it's a more reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, I think especially if you're stacking waves, PM, AM, PM waves, you could leave money on the table just because of the available options that you like.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like this is a very fairly priced. There's a lot of guys inside the top 30 in my model that's like rolling through the 7Ks, deep into the 7K range. So you could easily leave a couple bucks, like probably $500 you could go with, So I know Sweet Spot DFS, I do a show with him on Sunday nights, always tells me you got to spend at least like 49.6. That's what most, like 99% of GPP winners are usually using 49.6.
Interesting.
And above. Like lower than that, you don't see that many GPP winners.
Does that include major championships and events like the Players where you're going to get a little bit more of a hodgepodge?
I'll reach out to him and see because that makes a lot of sense. I think this is a very balanced situation. So you could.
I have 7 players in my lineup inside of the top 20 that are 7K or I guess in the 7K range is the better way to say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of what Byron was just talking about. There's a lot of names over and over again. And, I have the Kitayama comment on the screen. My model has Kitayama as one of those names. And
19.
I've sworn myself at this point that I am not going to come on the show and take Kurt Kitayama. I do this with him and Daniel Berger, and I consistently find myself missing cuts over and over again. I like Kurt Kitayama. I'm not going to do it for this show. I'm going to go with somebody that I liked a lot last week that I think kind of fits the mold again here. I'm going to take Ricky Fowler and just round up the lineup there. Like another top 20 player for me, somebody that my model seems to want to go towards. A little bit more ownership for him. Like if you're kind of in this chalky build, you're probably better off playing the Kurt Kitayama route at 7% versus like Ricky at 15%. But for the sake of this show and kind of for what I have done with my lineup right now, I'm fine going this route with it and just trusting what we've seen from Fowler, even if it has been a little putter heavy at times.
I like Fowler. I mean, Fowler's looked good recently. I think That's a solid pick here at the end of this draft. You got 4 really solid squads. I think this is really an interesting draft. I think it'll be a really competitive week on this show. Don't forget, smash the like button. Give us a follow. Spencer will post the lineups, but you let us know, who do you think is going to win? Of course, we'll come back next week. We will crown a champion, and we will do it all over again. But before we get out of here tonight, we do have one last segment. Before we get off the draft board, there's one guy I want to mention that didn't get mentioned at all in the show, and I just want to mention him because I like him a lot. And I want to get your take from each of you, and if there's anyone that did not get mentioned from you guys that you were surprised about. For me, it's Harry Hall. I love Harry Hall. I think he's a great value play. He's great short game, can sink a ton of putts, but he's been good off the tee too. And I think if you're going to get Harry Hall, who's really solid off the tee with his short game in the 6K range, I think there's a ton of upside there. I would have taken Harry Hall at the end here, but I couldn't make Scheffler work with Hall, so I had to go Cootie and Dahmen. But I will be playing a lot of Harry Hall this week. Well, what do you hear, Byron? Is there anyone you're surprised did not go in this draft?
The guy that's just wearing Arnold Palmer's red cardigan right now, walking around the players venue, is Akshay Bhatia. $7,700, 3rd, 6th, 16th win. Finished 3rd year last year. Like, if that win was the 3rd place, that wasn't very epic. Oh boy. I mean, he's 14% owned right now, but that could be well into the 20s. People get scared after a win. He was drinking Arnold Palmer's with Sam Sanders. He wasn't even drinking. I think Sam was smashing like some old fashioned, and Sam's Arnold Palmer's grandson, by the way. So you could have had a spiked Arnold Palmer with some vodka, but no, I think he's locked in for the players, baby. And they've got stuff to prove. I think he's trying to prove a lot of people wrong right now, and he's playing fantastic golf.
If you listen to any of his interviews, he just sounds so confident right now. He just sounds so sure of himself. He's definitely in a good spot mentally. What about you, Spence? Anyone you're surprised did not get brought up on the show?
I don't know. I mean, I'll rapid fire off some $6,000 golfers that I liked this week. I kind of teased that there were a bunch of names that I thought had value. I'll butcher about half of these names while trying to do this, but we'll go through this. Sudarshan Yellowmajaru, which I know, Joel, you and I talked about him quite a bit. Like him and AJ Ewert, both of them are names that my model like, that I would just at least caution that there's very limited data around them. But you do have 2 names down there that are like stone min price, that if you actually believe that the data is going to hold steady at any chance of it, there's sub 1% golfers in the field. Max McGreevy was a name I drafted. Austin Smotherman, my model absolutely loved this week. I don't know where the back sits. If you could promise me that his back was fine, I think he's a name that makes a lot of sense. Alex Smalley, Zicheng Dao. I know that's not how that's pronounced. One of you guys can correct me on that. Mac Meisner, Matthew McCarty. Byron talked about Ryan Fox. Joel, you talked about Cootie. Harry Hall is right in that mix too. It's like there's a lot of names down in the $6,000 section that are very playable. And, I was trying the entire draft to figure out if there was a way for myself to get up to Scotty Scheffler. And I spent too much early on that I couldn't get up there, but I was kind of willing to do what Joel did of take Scotty, dumpster dive at the bottom and figure out how I could make it work. But you run out of money quickly when you take picks near the top. And that's the unfortunate thing that happened with my build there. But a lot of names for people to consider. I think there's a lot of good options in the tournament this week.
I think it's going to be a really, really fun weekend ahead. I'm really excited for this tournament. Before we get everyone out of here, we do have our last segment, our favorite bets of the week. I will kick this one off. I got 2 plays I'm looking at that I will share with you. It's supposed to be 1, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to parlay it, so it's 1 play, but really it's 2. And I'm going to the top 20 market. I usually stick in the top 20 market. That's the way I like to bet. It's 2 guys I really like the numbers on, and that's going to start with Russell Henley, where you're getting plus money at plus 120. I think he's a safe play. He stays in the fairways. At top 20, I think he should be able to get you there. And I'm also going to take a guy that I took here, and Sepp Straka, another top 20. You're getting him at plus 215. I love that number. You're getting 2-to-1 odds on Sepp Straka to get you to top 20. He's been really good. This is a really good course fit. From what I've seen from him recently, I think Sepp at a top 20 at 2-to-1 odds is really strong value. So for me, that's a 2-man parlay, which would probably get you almost 4 or 5-to-1, which is a really strong number to pull on this week. Byron, how about you? What's your favorite bet of the week?
It's a Tom Hoagie ladder.
Ooh.
I love playing Tom Hoagie at Tom Hoagie courses, a top 10 at Amex where he's played nicely, a top 18 at Pebble, top 15, I think, at Pebble, which he's played well at, won that tournament. And he's got 2 third-place finishes at the Players in the last 3 years. Co-owner of the course record. He's playing fine this year at courses that he's enjoyed in the past, Tom Hoagie, 300 to 1 to win the tournament. Tom Hoagie, top 5, 36 to 1. Tom Hoagie, top 10, 15 to 1. Tom Hoagie, top 20, 6 to 1. I mean, those are fat numbers out there based off just he's playing badly at courses that he's always played badly at.
I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh, God.
Tom Hoagie did not get drafted. I then just 5 seconds ago asked, is there anyone surprised? Did not get mentioned on the show. Didn't say anything. Now he's your number 1 bet guy. Where were you to even mention him? And with a surprise, no draft. What happened?
It's the value. He's $7,000, whereas I feel like that's
a good answer.
The betting market's treating him like he's $6K flat.
He's overpriced for DFS, but he's actually a good bet for the right value. That's fair.
I'd say he's fine, not overpriced for DFS. I think he's a fair play at 7 flat. Whereas these bets, I would say, what would you say these bets equate to, Spencer? At 300 to 1 to win the tournament.
Well, I'll add this to it. I'm looking at my model right now. He's the 51st owned DK player. Now, I have not updated these numbers since Monday, and obviously you can shop around. But 51st ranked DK player, he's the 96th overall betting position when he opened on Monday, give or take on where the books are. But I think that's kind of to your point, Byron, to where there is a difference in the market of what the betting space is viewing him as versus what the number was on DraftKings for DFS. And I would assume, I'd have to run it very quickly, I would assume that is the biggest disparity on the board. I mean, that's a very large difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's not far from Brian Campbell on the odds board.
Yeah, he would be the biggest difference. Lucas Glover, John Kiefer, those would be the other names that were close to him. If you're just looking at disparity there.
And can I say Colin Morikawa first round leader, 35 to 1.
Ooh, I like that. There you have it. All right. Spence, what's your bet of the week?
I was going to say Adam Scott over Justin Rose. I'm going to go a different route, though, for the sake of this show. We've had enough of the discussion with the Scott and Rose dilemma of it. I'll say Shane Lowry over Jordan Spieth. I just think there's a lot to like about the profile of what you're getting with Shane Lowry. I think it's a nice buy low spot at the end of the day. And the Spieth profile is kind of very bait and switchy. He seems to burn me more than anybody when he gets hot with the putter, but it's a very bait and switch profile where the ball striking has remained bad for a while. And this is not really the tournament I'd want to go to with bad ball striking.
Boom. All right. Fair enough. That's a wrap for the show tonight. I think it was a really strong draft, a lot of plays out there, but a big thank you to Byron. I don't think people realize Byron was done for the night. He was ready to relax. He got a call literally 5 minutes before we went on. He was like, all right, I'll come draft with you guys. So Byron has been one of our most valuable guests we've ever had on the show. We certainly appreciate him for that. We appreciate you for tonight. Byron, tell everyone where they can find you this week.
Yeah, at the Model Maniac Patreon. That's where all my stuff is now. It's pretty much my home now. I just live there. 60% of the time I'm in there 100% of the time. So it's kind of what's going on at the Model Maniac on X, that kind of stuff. So, and cheers. Let's have a fantastic players, man. This is going to be a good week.
You don't need me to tell you this, but if you don't already, make sure you follow Byron, the Model Maniac Sex Panther. Sex Panther part, I just added. I didn't actually say that, but we're going to start calling him that because it's the fun nickname.
I might change my Twitter handle.
But the reality is, and I mean this sincerely, if you're not following Byron, you're making a mistake. You will make more money by following Byron. And not only will you make more money, you'll be entertained because he does a great job of giving you his plays in an entertaining way. Byron, we appreciate you. We're wishing you luck this week. We wish all of you luck this week to get a win. And Spence, what did I forget tonight?
Yeah, as you said, follow Byron if you're not. Sign up for all Byron stuff. I'll show off this Jason Day picture very, very quickly here. So these are my two favorite golfers. I don't know if that's reflecting right or
Yeah,
wrong.
DJ?
Yeah,
DJ.
There.
Oh, there we go.
We'll get the
looks
audio
That's a
out
sick
of it.
photo.
How old is that photo?
I don't know. And obviously, Dustin's still on tour at that point. I've had that sitting around for a while. I used to have behind myself. You couldn't see it on camera, but I had a lot of PGA stuff. I had Finau. I had that picture, a couple other things. I've redesigned everything over the last year since moving into this home.
And that's signed by both of them?
What, sorry?
Is that signed by both of them?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How did you get that?
eBay. It's PSA authenticated sticker on the back of it. But yeah, it's a cool little picture. Like those are people don't realize this because this is pre like all of the Jason Day stuff that became and everybody knows me for. Dustin Johnson in 2015 would have been 10 times worse than whatever this was with Jason Day. Like I legitimately bet Dustin Johnson every single weekend. There were some just brutal finishes like Chambers Bay in 2015 when I think it was Chambers Bay in 2015 when he 3-putt against Spieth to lose that tournament. That cost me more money than any golf player has ever cost me in the history of life before.
Oh, man. So are you still not forgiving him? Or is there still this 11 years later, do you still hold a grudge?
It's the sad part about it is when I bet him every single major, and the one major that he finally ends up, I mean, he's won more than one, but the first major that he ended up winning, I didn't have a ticket on him that week. I ended up having a problem that I was going to get down to the sports book that night because there was a number at one of the local Vegas casinos and I never got down there in time. So I asked somebody, could they put the bet in for me? And I texted them that night and they were like, sure. And then I got a message from them in the morning, like before the tournament had even started. And they were like, shit, dude, I forgot to place it. And then he goes on and he wins the golf tournament. And I'm just sitting there. It was him and I want to say it was like him and Scott Piercy in the final group. And Scott Piercy's just imploding all over himself. And I'm just sitting there on, like, it's like Father's Day. I'm ruining my dad's Father's Day. And I'm just bitching about everything that's going on throughout the entire duration of this. But I have never really hit that big ticket on Dustin that I've wanted in the outright market, which has kind of pained me for a lot of time.
And was it so long ago that they didn't have live bets then?
I mean, I'm a stubborn person to where, like, what I should have done is I should have just bet him live somewhere else. But, like, when it's interesting with Dustin because, like, Dustin was a guy that used to range throughout all of the markets. Like, you would see him randomly at 28-1, and then he'd be 15-1 everywhere else. He was like 16-1 across the board entering this Thursday, and this one book had him at like 26, 27, 28. And unfortunately, I'm a stubborn person that's like, well, I'd rather just not be on it if that's the case. By the way, to answer that, it's you can't see on it. There's the sticker down there for the authentication, and then there's the authentication there on it.
That's awesome. That's
Pretty
so cool, dude.
Pretty cool. All right. Well, that is a wrap.
Spencer's not even telling you all the details about his story. That you should tell the people some other time if you wanted to, because it's the background stories to these sweats are epic.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into this, and I feel like unfortunately with Dustin, there's just never good endings to the stories. Like we saw this throughout Dustin's career too. Like for the longest time, like he is the golfer that arrives at the Masters and just breaks his back because he's doing God knows what with players' wives on tour. Like it's just Dustin is one of the most talented golfers I've ever seen, and there was just always something that went wrong, unfortunately.
That's fair. Well, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Spencer, the 2015 PGA Championship.
That's the day year. I had that ticket on day that year.
You better. Has Jason Day ever won a tournament that you didn't bet him on?
I think that's the only time I've ever hit Jason Day for an outright.
Oh, that's really sad. I thought you would have hit him multiple times.
Like, that's the problem with it, is I really don't bet Jason Day all that much. Honestly, it's Dustin, the one that just consistently got away from me. Like, I hit him in a lot of the smaller events, like some of those, like they were like WGCs at the time, where I would take him at 8-1, 10-1, and watch him get across the finish line there. But like, I missed out every single time that he entered into that 20+ range. And like Justin Thomas is almost like the modern day version. I know he's hurt now, but there was the longest time with Justin Thomas to where elite player, but for whatever reason, the public never viewed him that way. And then he would drift. Like I hit Justin Thomas here at the Players whatever year that he won. I got him at like 40-1 or whatever the price ended up being, just because like you get these crazy ebbs and flows in the market on some of these high-end guys. And we saw it with Colin Morikawa a couple weeks ago. And as you said, Joel, very early on in the show, they win. And now all of a sudden they're back to being the favorites. So it's like, there's very short windows to try to buy in on them. And unfortunately for all of us as bettors, that's kind of why I run my model as long-term as I do, is I'm always trying to get ahead of the market on these numbers. But the second you see any form and they don't get themselves across the finish line, you're just shit out of luck.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. We hope to hit one this week. Get some redemption. Let's get a win. Let's get some positive vibes. I'm going to win the $1 million this week, so that's already a lock. We'll come back next week. We will crown me the champion, and we will do it all over again. I want to wish everyone some good luck. It's going to be a fun tournament, a really great weekend at golf. One of the most premier tournaments of the year. It's probably the most premier non-major. So have some fun, win some money.